Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast after Sunderland have exited the FA Cup in just a minor game, otherwise known as the Tyne Derby. A 3-0 defeat to Newcastle, which obviously we'll get into what happened in the game, some of the reactions to the game afterwards, and then a brief look ahead to the next game, which is obviously in the league against Ipswich on Saturday. Another game on Sky, if I'm not mistaken. But going into this game, John, obviously it's a derby, so, it's very much, obviously we played Fulham in the Cup last season, and it was a game that everyone was kind of looking forward to, that one, because it was, one of them games that you can look to and be like, if we lose, who cares? If we win, fantastic. And in a sense, given the gap between the two teams on Saturday, there was a little bit of that as well. But it is a derby, so a lot of that goes out the window.
Yeah, it does. With the players we got, have they experienced that before? And obviously they haven't. Not many have, because it's been such a long time. And I think maybe that did play a part. There's lots of narratives for it of, well, Newcastle should smash us because of how high they are up, and it's a free hit for us. But ultimately, like I say, it is a derby, and I think you could probably sum it up best with the fans turned up for it. Because obviously we know what it means, but it seems the players
anyway.
Home fans, yeah. Less said about those 6,000 corporate people were the better. But yeah, like I say, the fans turned up. And to be fair, the atmosphere looked electric. But unfortunately, that's where the real positives finish. Unfortunately, I don't know if last season when we played Fulham and Mowbray was there, it was a bit more, go out, show what you're made of, and just play with a bit of freedom. I think yesterday was a little bit more rigid. Obviously, we're still under a new head coach, and I'm yet to see sort of anything really different or a change in any way. It's almost like a bit more rigid. And yeah, obviously we talk tactics all day, but for me to not at least go and have a real go, I think was probably the biggest frustration for everyone yesterday.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said at the start, Sunderland are not expected to win that game. And to be honest, I think there was more Newcastle fans confident of a Sunderland win than there were Sunderland fans, obviously given the past of the derby. But whilst there's a massive gulf between the teams in terms of not just money, but obviously quality, and that was on show during the game, Sunderland didn't really do themselves any good, really, with that performance, because, like I said, there is a gulf for quality, and there's going to be mistakes get made, and if you make a mistake against a team who the likes of PSG couldn't even beat, you're going to get punished for it, as we did on 3 different occasions that we'll get into. But even outside of that, Sunderland, like you kind of said, didn't really have a go. And when we did have a go, we created a few chances. Dubravka had to make a couple of saves. Pritchard hit the bar, but there just wasn't enough of that, especially in the first half.
No, there wasn't, and you'd expect them to feed off the crowd a little bit. I know they say play the game, not the occasion, but I think with all the fans and how the atmosphere was, I think you can draw off that, and you did see a little bit when when we did have our little spell in the second half. You could tell it was rubbing off on the players, and albeit for 10 minutes. All these, you would like to think, and Bill said it before the game, like all these players think they want to be playing at that level, and think they should be playing at that level sort of fairly soon. And again, it probably sounds really harsh, but I think we're all massively let down, barring the odd one or two yesterday. And it's probably really harsh on Ballard, but he was really good, apart from obviously the own goals, one of them, the penalty as well. But apart from that, I thought he looked fairly solid against a very, very let's not kid ourselves, they are a quality team. Yeah. And there are different levels, but I don't think, I don't think the team on the day that we played helped. Obviously, we can't change it too much, but the tactics didn't help. If I know, obviously, I watched enough of Newcastle to know they press really, really high. So we can't, dawdle on it too much. And it's the worst time to concede with Pierre-Emerick. We're doing things like that. Yes, I know that's the idea, is to play out from the back, but they would have spotted that and thought, right, all we need to do is get that high press on them. To be fair, they were fantastic at it. It's something that we've lacked, which we used to have. Our press used to be fantastic, and we were really aggressive. We seem to now have lost that for some reason.
It seems to be a lot more when we don't have the ball. We just get back into shape.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a little bit of frustration, because I think, just even if you go off and just hunting packs a little bit. Yes, they've got the quality, but they had the quality anyway to get out. So, can we not try and do something? They weren't expecting us to press them, I don't think, because we don't really press as aggressively as we used to. So can we not add that into our game, even some sort of niggly fouls, and break it up a little bit? I think, probably another side issue is I don't see why we haven't played how we played against Leeds. Sit in, make it really hard for them, nothing in behind. We got done. I think it was Trey Hume got done inside for the cross for Ballard. That probably doesn't happen if we're playing the other tactic. And I don't think Pierre-Emerick was probably there taking the ball if we play that way. And then you're still looking then at a 0-0, barring maybe one bit of quality from them if they can find it. We kept Leeds out. We're a very good team. Yes, different ball game. But I don't see why we changed. And again, it's another notch on that frustration.
Yeah. I mean, we'll briefly go through the goals. The first one, as we said, was a deflection, which at the time I didn't actually know, because I was sat at the other side of the stadium, sat right next to the Newcastle fans, who, many of which I don't actually think looked at the pitch once during that 90 minutes. Make of that what you will. But like we said, Trey Hume gets caught out, ball comes into the box, Ballard. It's a good finish in the end, straight into the top corner, and it is slightly unlucky. And at the same time, I think, given his quality and the fact, Isaac is behind him, he's not necessarily directly on top of him. He could maybe do a little bit better, but I think that's probably been a little bit harsh. That's the first goal. The second goal, though, I think we're up at half time, we're very much in the game. Everyone knew, at half time, we haven't really seen much of the ball, haven't really posed too much of a threat. You think second half, Bale have got into them at half time, told them what they need to do, and get the ball to Clark, get the ball to Pritchard, make things happen. But to concede the way we did 30 seconds into the second half, as I say, it completely killed the game, and it outlines something heavily that has been an issue throughout the rest of the season, and it's Sunderland's. This is essentially what Mowbray was sacked for, I think, is Sunderland's inability to, change the way they play. And they have a plan A, which everyone knows is to, try and play, this fancy football, play out from the back, and, score a goal that's going to get posted on Twitter, and everyone's going to quote tweet it saying what a team goal it is. And, when it works, it looks good. But when it doesn't work, you concede goals, and that's exactly what's happened. Ekwa dispossessed in his own box by Almiron, and like I say, it's Sunderland's inability to have a plan B cost us that goal, and cost us in a lot of games in the league so far this season.
Yeah, you're spot on, to be fair. I think, touching back on the first goal, I don't even blame sort of Ballard. It's more of a Trey Hume gets sort of caught sort of like square on almost, and it's played in behind him. Tries to, because he's gone really tight, instead of sort of just holding the space maybe. It's a poor ball sort of a good ball, sorry, inside him. And that was the frustration, like I said, against Leeds, we didn't do that. We didn't give them any space to run into. We know how good Gordon is, Almiron, Trippier. We know how good they are. Joe Linton, we know how good they are, and getting in behind, getting them crosses. So don't give them space. And then, like you say, second goal, that's the worst time. For me at half time, the main thing I am saying is, yes, they've probably been the better team. Stay in the game. It's only 1-0. Stay in the game. Nothing stupid. And then, we're probably going to hear it, I expect, again, and say, well, these players are young. You got to expect that. But eventually, I'm not going to expect, or not expect it, but I'm not going to accept it, because that to me is is a little bit unforgivable. Yes, he's young, but he doesn't need to be turning
At what
on a
point
team
as well, though, when we have these young players, and people say, "Oh, we don't have any experience," but at what point do young players become not young? Because Pierre, in terms of number, is a young player, but this is his second season. He's played almost every game there has been to play since he pretty much signed for us. He's not totally inexperienced, and there's been a few times this season alone where whether it's been Dan Neil, who again, you can see he's inexperienced, but I think he's played 4 seasons now of senior football, where they get caught out in the same positions. And again, we'll get on to a little bit more about January in general, because I think that's where a lot of this will lead to and what needs to be done. But it's the same mistakes that are getting made, and whether you're 18 or whether you're 38, you can't afford to keep making the same mistakes.
No, you can't, because eventually it will get picked up on by other teams. And then it, like you say, it keeps happening. It's, we'll talk about recruitment, but it probably, for me, it does highlight, how, obviously we've had fairly good recruitment. I won't go any further than that, because I think we are, we're not going to, I don't think we're going to see Corey Evans again. Why all of a sudden are we hanging our hat on sort of Jay Matete as, we didn't really get into the team before, it wasn't fancied by Alex Neil, at all, really.
Even in League One.
No, exactly. So it's a bit like one of those players, who's out for a long time. Oh, well, he'll be back. And you're a bit like, it doesn't make him, the savior to all our problems. I'm not saying that is the rhetoric, but it's, we need like someone to, Pierre-Emerick, for me, you speak about, obviously Tony Mowbray saying, well, sometimes he needs to rock up his backside because he's so chilled. It's like, when are you going to be like, you can't be chilled in a game like that yesterday. I didn't see any of their players really, I didn't see, Dan Neil like chilling. A lot of them were working on Luca 9. They weren't chilling. They weren't sort of, slow and like as almost they think they're too comfortable on the ball, which you can get away with in the Championship. You can flick it through and flick it around and get away with that. Premier League's different level, and if you think you're on your way to the Premier League sort of very soon, I think all of them have had a massive rude awakening, which sounds really weird, but very, very good for them maybe to think, well, you're not, you're nothing special. You're nothing special at the moment. You are really going to have to step up, and if you really want a big move away, there's going to be lots of rumours. There's one or two who, sort of Neil and your Ballard who maybe you could forgive, for maybe thinking that they could go on soonish, but at the moment, the rest of them, is a massive rude awakening. I think it's a rude awakening for a lot of people, and I include the owner and Speakman, and obviously a lot of rumours. Obviously, there are only rumours at the moment, like today of Kiefer Moore. Obviously, that breaks the mold of the model that we're sticking to, and there's obviously Henderson rumours, and there's Jan Villa rumours, and obviously again, all massive rumours. But are they starting to maybe think, maybe we do need those experienced heads because of how much potential all these kids have got? That's all well and good, but we'll just be a machine of producing good kids, and are we going to get anywhere with that? If the aim is to go to the Premier League, which apparently it is, and it is very soon. That was in the summer saying, well, promotion's the target. So
it's got to be more than just getting the Premier League as well. It's got to be getting the Premier League and not fight to stay in the Premier League. It's
sustain in the Premier League. Yeah, of course it has.
But on the third goal,
go on, carry on.
We'll go on through the goals and then we'll get on to the rest of it because there's still plenty to talk about. The third goal's a penalty. Gordon runs through and Ballard cleans him out, which not justifying doing this in the box, but just again kind of not playing to the occasion. We didn't really see enough of that throughout the game either, really. I think there was one tackle from O'Neill on Miley, and I think he did it again on Anthony Gordon. Obviously wiped him out, got a yellow card for it. But in a derby, when you've got, how many home fans were there? Maybe 40,000, I think it was. You need things like that in the game just to unsettle the opposition, to let them know that they're in a game. And at times, we were too nice.
Yeah, we were We were far too nice. Again, it's a very weird one because I think Trey Hume was looking for that moment in the first 10 minutes to try and, you know, sort of go through someone and get that crowd of, you know, on its feet. And, you know, we know the stories of, you know, the fans will cheer, you know, a good solid tackle as much as a goal. And I think that epitomises what we saw from Luke 09, you know, and it's obviously got a lot of, you know, social media interest today. But I think you've still got that. Again, it's a strange one. We don't really have that balance of experienced players who would think, can we ruffle the feathers of their team? We didn't really see that. You know, it was still, let's play our way. Let's not, you know, let's not ruffle the feathers. Really, it wasn't really that type of game. It was play the game, you know, not the occasion. And it did seem to be like we overplayed, you know, the game, you know, and it was very, very rigid play. And in fairness, we just played into their hands, to be fair, and they probably couldn't believe our luck, you know. And for as apparently as crap as the goalkeeper as Dubravka is, you know, he sort of had a lovely old afternoon, you know, to be fair, which again is a massive frustration. Again, we can touch on the recruitment again, because why did we only change it at 85 minutes and we brought on then Abdullah Bar, and he probably wasn't far off getting the man of the match, to be fair, because he did more in 85. He did more in 5 minutes than most in 85. And supposedly, you know, got jeered on his way on, which is, you know, bang out of order. You know, he's just a kid. Yes, he's struggling for form at the moment, but, you know, like I say, he did more in 5 minutes than most in 85. So, you know, does he start the next game? Because for me at the moment, it's not. Yes, I know it's the cup game and we're doing okay in the league, but if these people don't have, you know, other players chomping at the bit, ready to go, like Al Sheesh, what's happened to him? He, you know, I don't see why he didn't come on. What's happened to Chris Rigg? Is he good enough or isn't he good enough? If he isn't good enough to come on, which is what Bill suggested, get him in the under-23s or whatever. Get him playing there, leave him there. There's no point having him on the bench, then turn around and interview and go, well, I wasn't happy with, you know, what was that? Because what I saw on the pitch wasn't good enough. And I think some of them could have, you know, just that change of, you know, Rusyn could have come off and we put Burstow on. Now, I'm not a fan of Burstow, or even, you know, Semedo. Get him.
I think the thing is as well, when you've got, obviously, there's two sides to the story, and Beale has his side where there's a lot of inexperienced players on the bench. Will they handle the occasion? Will they do this? But if you look at it from the other side as well, if you're someone like Abdullah Bar or Al Shishe or, you know, Semedo, who, you know, struggled to make much of an impact here, he's a young player, wants to have a good career, you're going to want to come on, and you're probably going to put in the most effort you've probably put in since joining the club in a game like this, because you know if you score a goal that, you know, granted it was 2-0 30 seconds into the second half, but if, you know, Semedo comes on and scores to make it 2-1, everyone's buzzing, everyone's thinking he should start, his confidence is sky high, as opposed to just leaving things to how they are when they evidently weren't working.
No, exactly, and that's what, you know. What does it say to those guys on the bench? You know, Chris Rigg signed a new deal, could have gone to anywhere else. You know, by all accounts, he is a Newcastle fan, probably could have gone there. You know, but he's seen that this place is the pathway, and then, you know, you get the interview yesterday of, well, I don't think they had to change it. I don't really trust them. It's like, well, what happened? Because he has played, you know, he scored for us in the Championship. He's looked decent in the games he has played. Yes, I know he's still very young, but you're telling me...
Was it the FA Cup against Fulham where he scored as well, where it was disallowed? Or was that Carabao?
Yeah.
Either way, it was in the club competition against a Premier League team.
Exactly. So what does it, you know, what are we going to say then? You know, when the next kid that comes through and go, well, you know, he's not really, you know, fancied. It's turned around to all of them. Like, I can't see why Burstow's loan agreement hasn't been cancelled already. I can't see, because he hasn't.
He should have went back on the first.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's a money thing, if we have to pay some sort of fee. Wouldn't surprise me, you know, because we can be accused at times of being penny pinchers, which doesn't surprise me. But, you know, what are you saying to those other guys? You know, and I think we are. I don't want to be too high up on this, but it just highlights, I think, how we are at the moment. A lot more questions being asked, you know, of the club and what's the ambition, and, you know, the rumours of players that we're going to get, by all accounts of players we get in are going to excite us. So Bill says, but it's, it's very much. It's almost like a wake up call that we've had from a different cup competition. Because in fairness, in the league, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
If we can add properly, put into bed this game. I think it's highlighted a lot of things, and I think that for the players and the coaches as well. But obviously, we need to find plan Bs. We need to find, we need to plug a few gaps. Patrick Roberts is out for a month. That's going to be a tough one because we sort of play.
We don't have another winger.
Sort of well, exactly. The Lihaji money, we did all right from that, but didn't really seem to, to get a right winger. We sort of, we'll just buy another number 10. But we need people chomping at the bit, ready to go to push. Every single one in the team, and I include the goalkeeper, I include the central midfielders, because it will be in a couple of weeks' time, and they'll say, "Well, Dan Neil's a bit burnt out," and if Ekra has he's done all right in the league, but if he has another downturn in form, then who do you replace him with? There isn't anyone. Job seems to be, I won't hammer him too much. I wasn't impressed one little bit with him yesterday, considering, most of the media build-up was about him on the telly, and for me it was awful, absolutely awful. It's like I say, it's got to be a massive wake-up call for the club a little bit, whilst things are still okay. If you see what I mean, it's okay to see things that are not, that we can improve on, whilst we are going well in the league, to be fair.
I suppose it begs the question as well. Obviously, we're in January now, or a week into January, actually. Is this the biggest transfer window the club's had in a very long time? And for multiple reasons. Obviously, the sacking of Mowbray didn't go down well with a lot of fans. That to then follow up with the appointment of Beale also didn't go down well with fans. Defeat to Newcastle obviously hasn't went down well with fans. And of course, all the off the pitch stuff prior to the Newcastle game did very much not go down well with the fans. So, is this the biggest transfer window, Speakman, Kirill Dreyfus, whoever else involved will have? Because if we don't get it right and don't finish in the playoffs as a bare minimum this season and get the positions that we need, obviously, going back to that second goal where, we have no other way of playing. We need a big centre forward. Everyone knows we need a big, experienced centre forward who knows the championship, hold the ball up and bully defenders. We know we need that. If we don't get that, that's going to be an issue. So again, like I say, is this the biggest transfer window we've had?
Yeah, well, I think so, because in terms of, I think, we've been, the model and all those sorts of things. I think it's the first time we might really have to break away from that. And I'm not saying we should go out and sign a 35-year-old, has been or whatever. I'm thinking, yes, the 5-year plan is to get to Premier League. That's fine. But I think that the long-term plan shouldn't be, detriment to the short-term plan as well. We find ourselves probably a bit ahead of schedule. We're playing we are playing good football. Can we help those players at the moment who are doing really, really well? And I don't. That's always been a bit of an issue for me. You're looking at players leaving like Gooch and Bart. Maybe trying to force Pritchard out a little bit. Turns, last few weeks Pritchard's probably been the best player. He's the sort of player you probably give a new deal to and just say, well, you need to help. These youngsters come along, as well as playing your part. And like you say, we're desperate for a striker. To bully and just help, Clark, Roberts, Pritchard, help them. We had a bit of an anomaly with Stewart because of how good he is. I don't think we're going to get someone as good as Stewart, but we're crying out.
You need someone of the same mould where you don't want someone who is completely immobile and can't do anything else other than win headers. You need someone who, for example, again, I'm going to use that second goal against Newcastle as the example. You need someone who Patterson can aim for, who can hold the ball up. But, in games where we are dominating possession, look at the likes of the Rotherham game, where if you need him to, you can run in behind and he can play with his feet. And again, Ross Stewart was that type of player. Obviously, in hindsight, selling him for 10 million, given the fact he's now out for this season as well, good transfer decision. The only other player like him in the division last year was Gyökeres, who I think went to Spawn for about 30 million or something, I think it was. So in terms of finding someone like that, it's not going to be easy, but that is exactly what we need.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. But I think in this day and age, we've got a Category 1 academy, which is full to the rafter of data and all this stuff. And we've got scouts, all over the world. And by all accounts, scouts have been going here, there, and everywhere. I don't see how we can't find someone, even middle of the range who can do a job for us. I think I watched about 40 minutes yesterday of the Middlesbrough Villa game. Exactly the same sort of landscape to Sunderland, Newcastle, in terms of where they are in the leagues respectively. And the Middlesbrough guy up front, I think his name might be Coburn, but big tall guy,
used to play for us.
Just ran their back four just fantastically. Just bullied them, hassled them, hurried them, was happy to hold the ball up, get them up the pitch. That's what we need. It's what we're crying out for. Takes the pressure off defence. And it will help so much players like Roberts and Clark for someone just to play off, and not. We know we've struggled obviously with Roos, and seems all right. He's not going to be, I don't think, the first choice for the rest of the season. And the rest of the less said about the rest of the strikers, the better. So I think, back to the transfer thing. We are going to see now, what. Because I think this week as well, it's been a little bit, the pressure's on maybe Kirill a little bit more than maybe it was because of, the Black Cats bar crap, we'll call it, and those types of things. And don't for 1 minute think he didn't know about it, blah, 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 blah. But if we were to break from the solid model of just buying, sort of French wonder kids or, and we did actually put a plan in place to get, I don't know, a left back who can stay fit, a central midfielder who can get his foot on the ball and a bit of experience, and a half decent striker. We're not talking about, I always hear that, wow, we spent 4 million on Will Greg. You want us to do that? We're not asking for that. People are paid by the club, the scouts, the transfer department. There's loads of them that make that up. They are paid to find these players, which they should be able to find. Yes, there might be a rough diamond, but they've got to be able to pluck those out because, we're not those people. They are. That's their job. And that's what we need. We've plucked players, from here, there and everywhere. To be fair, we have got a very good squad. Very, very good squad. And this, going back to your original point, this is a massive transfer window for us. I think it will show if you really want to get promoted, it will show you what, can we tempt Diallo back? Possibly, you never know, with Sancho going out the door, maybe they're going to keep him. And, he's probably, Anthony's not even fit to lace.
I think he is their best attacker, to be fair.
Diallo's boots, to be fair, but maybe Ten Hag's a bit stupid. He does stupid things and he loves Anthony and he's paid 90 million for him. So he's not going to not play him. So we might get away with that one. I don't want us to think, we're going to hang our hat on that till 31st of January. We don't get him. And then, again, we're signing sort of Lehaji type people. Let's have a plan. Let's go and execute that plan. I'd rather, we say it all the time, we'd rather it was done early, but it never seems to be done early.
No. Always
but
the hard
way. big
the Sunderland way.
I wouldn't even be, obviously we've got plenty of money. We've that 10 million's in the bank. Apparently there's money to spend in January. I wouldn't be against, maybe shipping, a couple out and then, filling out the squad a little bit more to push players. And, and I include the keeper situation in that, Bishop's never going to push Patterson. Patterson sometimes looks like he's quite comfortable in the number one position. He needs fantastic goalkeeper. It needs to be pushed, but I think, they all do. You've got Elisa Sirkin made of glass. To me, you should be looking at a solid left back again. Midfield, again, we're struggling. We need more out wide, I think. We probably need someone to challenge Clark a little bit. And again, we need help up front. So it could be a really busy one, but we're probably told to expect, a fairly quiet one.
We are. Well, 15 points is the gap between Sunderland and the automatic places, which is, of course, Ipswich, who are then 10 points behind Leicester. How they are allowed to be in this division, I don't know, but they are. which, like I say, they are the opposition on Saturday, 5:30 kick-off. It's not an easy game. Obviously, we lost to them at home earlier in the season. But Sunderland, for some reason, perform against the good teams and not so much against the smaller teams, no disrespect. The poorer teams is the best way of putting that. But this game probably got a little bit bigger than it was originally, based off the fact we've just lost 3-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, I think with this game, I think obviously they'll be up for it. And Sunderland Ipswich is always a massive game, a really, really good game. And I'm a massive fan. I remember back to days when I was a kid watching, and they were brilliant games. I think they're probably going to try and come at us quite a lot, which I think might suit us. Is just sitting off. I think add to that, you've got to have a reaction. We might be a bit of a wounded animal. Or Ipswich. I don't want to say ready for that, but can they handle that? They've obviously hit I'd say a slight dip in form. They've been on fire, to be fair. Up until recently, I think not. I think I've seen a few draws. You've got to expect that sticky patch. But I'm quite an optimist when it comes to when we play. I think we could beat anyone on our day. It's just whether we are on it. No, don't get me wrong. It's going to be a very, very tough game, but there's still no reason why we couldn't. It wouldn't surprise me we went there and we picked up all 3 points. It is just one of them. I think you've got to probably say Nathan Broadhead will probably score. That's going to be a given. But apart from that, I don't think the transfer is going to change in any way. So it'll probably be the same squad. You just hope, another week on the training pitch, you want to see a little bit more of, I don't want to say Bealey ball, but you want to see his stamp on it maybe, and not just I saw that last week, and I saw that last week. You haven't really changed anything. Not that it needs changing massively, but if things aren't going well, you've got to have that plan B, or can we mix it up a little bit? Because when we saw the Leeds, team, I know it was Dodds who did it. It was a bit like, well, what's going on here? What are we doing here? We made like 4 changes and we've changed this and who's playing there. And to be fair, it's one of our best performances of the season, but all of us before the game was sort of like, what the fuck? So, you want to see that in-game flexibility, because yesterday, we didn't see that. And, we were losing. You might as well change it up, I think, just to see, even if we do lose, we're losing anyway. So hopefully, another week on the training pitch. But yeah, I've like I say, confident to go there, but if we get beat, it's just we struggle on the road to score goals. That's the problem at the moment. But again, that's another thing for them on the training pitch to work out.
Yeah, I don't know if this has changed. I can't remember, but I remember seeing something about it was about 3 months since someone not called Jack Clark scored away from home for us. I can't remember who scored in the last away game for us. It was Jack Clark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't remember anyone past that, but we don't want to become the team that, like yesterday, you stop. I don't even think they stopped Clark playing. They stopped us getting the ball to Clark. That's quite a big thing.
It is.
Not great, it wasn't, but you stop the supply. Yes, that's what's going to happen. He's not going to hurt anyone.
Hopefully, that is not the case on Saturday. Very briefly, prediction for the game.
I am always the optimist. I think we could beat anyone. I'll just say a Sunderland 2-1.
I'll go 3-1, I think. 2 from Clark, 1 from Vusen. Fancy it. Of course, the Broadhead goal as well, because, like you say, it's inevitable. But that's on Saturday, 5:30 kick-off on Sky. We'll get a podcast to talk about that at some point before the Monday. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.